Hello everyone, I'm BlinkMaster13 and welcome to episode 2 of my ultimate mod list for my Skyrim Master of Mods series. In episode 1 we covered right about the first 500 out of 1,000 mods, so we'll be looking to wrap this up here. We last left off with the Encounter Zones mod, so now we'll move on to Swift Potion NG. This mod will alleviate all your troubles of having way too many potions in your inventory at once. It'll automatically take health potions, stamina potions, and magic potions at predetermined levels that you can adjust. Spell Organizer, you can do all these things with your spells. Same thing for shouts. All Geared Up Derivative, or All Good. I always love mod acronyms. This mod will make it so that all the modded weapons and things like that you have will appear on your character even when you don't have them equipped. So you'll have a shield on your back even when you have your hands out, etc. It really does nice with gearing yourself up like maybe you would be if you were actually, your character. This next set of mods is all about Sailable Ship. This adds several sailable vessels in the game that you can purchase and then sail around. There are a whole lot of things for this, like Sailable Ship missions, adds crew quarters internally, and a lot of different texture packs as well. Block Steal. This makes it so you can't steal anything unless you're actually crouched, so you won't accidentally take things anymore. Artifact Tracker. Yep, okay, I just had to rethink about what this one was again real quick. This is what enables the feature that I talked about in the previous episode and episode 1 of the series that shows you if an item that you are looking at is already either in your inventory, a follower's inventory, or stored in your house. Definitely essential for our completion goals. Ring of the Erudite and Ring of the Beast for Dawnguard Path. The unique rings that Lord Harkon has on his body when you kill him as part of the Dawnguard. Or no, you actually get these rewards for him as a vampire. Now, if you kill him as in the Dawnguard Path, he'll drop those rings so you can still get them. Jeremus the Great Healer. I'm a big fan of Mountain Blade Warband. Played a lot of that back in the day. And this adds Jeremus, the fantastic Great Healer surgeon from that game. It adds him as a follower. And I've actually made my own little additional mods for this mod that make him a bit more like he was in the other game and give him a staff and things like that. Just kind of funny thing there. Pickpocket anyone, steal from any creature. Self-explanatory. Golden Glow is yours. When you complete the Thieves Guild quest that takes down Golden Glow Estate and you get the deed of ownership, you now have the deed of ownership. You are the owner and you can actually receive an income from that property. Recruit Deventus to the Dark Brotherhood lets you recruit that creepy little kid into the Dark Brotherhood to do some killing. Victoria's Alternate Wedding. If you destroy the Dark Brotherhood, you can now attend Vittoria Vici's wedding as a guest instead of as an assassin. After the Civil War, siege damage repairs. After the Civil War in the game, a lot of areas will have some destruction around some of the major cities. This mod makes it so that over time, those areas will be repaired. And I have extended repair times for that too. Yazdom, yet another soul trap manager. This makes it so that souls automatically fill appropriately sized soul gems instead of filling your grand soul gem with a petty soul. Auto-equip best arrows and bolts. That's exactly what it says. Skyrim on Skooma. Makes you trip when you drink Skooma. You'll go, I think there's a whole bunch of different trips that you can go on that add all sorts of things. Highly recommend checking out this mod. It's great. Missives. Adds message boards throughout the different cities that allow you to take on small quests for different NPCs. Bunch of different add-on patches here as well. Pickpocket chance increase. I've manually edited this mod, but pickpocket chance increase is a mod that takes the minimum or the maximum pickpocket chance of 90% up to 100%. I have it set to 95 for my playthrough. Live Anywhere Constructible Shacks allows you to build small buildings anywhere you want. Innkeepers don't escort. Anytime you rent a room, your innkeeper won't show you to your room anymore because that can slow things down. Bone Wolf expansion for that Creation Club content. Take a nap, sleep on chairs, exactly that. NPCs take cover, so smarter anti-cheese AI. You won't be able to just stand on a rock and shoot someone from 6 feet away anymore. They'll actually go and hide from you. Tangible Gold is a really cool mod, but I'm not using it because of True HUD. This mod allows gold to appear in your inventory as septims, and you can actually drop it on the ground. pretty useful when using those other coin mods that I talked about earlier in the first episode. But when you have True HUD enabled, anytime you open and close your inventory, it shows a little pop-up like you just received all that gold, which is kind of annoying. Pop-up delay, this is a quick little fix I made for C-Shacks. This is the mod I was complaining about in episode 1 that has those pop-ups in the middle of the screen right when you start a new load order. And this one just delays it by 5 seconds to make things run a little smoother. Not necessary. Item collect. Now this one is my. Now we're getting to some of my mods here. This is item collection tracking LOTD edition, and this one is just for my Master Mods series. So this mod adds spreadsheet item tracking. Basically, you export a list of items from that you have stored in a certain chest, and I have a separate Python program that saves those items to a text file and then generates a spreadsheet showing you what you do and you don't have in your specific load order. I spent a lot of time on this mod, and it is absolutely essential for our collection goals. Muffle distribution. Normally, the muffle enchant in the game is limited to only appear at certain level windows. If you want to see more info, go to the Nexus mod page for this one. Once again, you can find the full mod list with all the links in the description. So this makes it so you can find muffle at any level. Same goes for water breathing. At the time of this upload, this is not uploaded yet. And water walking, which are boots that are unimplemented but added by Beyond Skyrim. So I've done the same thing there. This is a patch that allows them to work, both of them to work together. Alright, now we can get into one of my favorite sections, which is seasons. So the seasons will actually change throughout Skyrim. 4 seasons a year, each one lasts for 3 months, pretty standard. But yeah, this will change everything in, well, all the visuals anyway for each season. So we have Seasons of Skyrim. This is the main mod here. We have Seasons of Bruma, Unfrozen. This will make it so that snowy areas like Winterhold in the summer will actually be completely covered in grass. So really cool changes there. We have seasons for all of these different mods. I'm not going to read them all off, but you can see them all here, and they're just fantastic. The next new one is Seasonal Alchemy. So plants won't grow during all seasons. They're slightly season specific now. Turn of the seasons, seasonal landscapes and seasonal landscape additions change certain different assets again, or add new assets rather for the different seasons. Here we have seasons on, seasonal landscape Unfrozen, snowy surfaces, sound, collision, and aesthetics. This changes things with snowy surfaces. This is SMIM, Static Mesh Improvement mod that we talked about in the first episode, a patch for that. Overwrite folder created by its seasons, and a copy of, so I had a really big issue with this actually, because I once bug fixed, I spent a 14-hour day fixing one bug that happened with the seasons file. So this is, let me pull this over. This is the seasons mod, and in the winter season, anyway, it comes with like an example of what the winter season one would be, but it's not enabled by default or something like that. Anyway, I had to make a manual change that ended up solving a bug that I spent literally all day one day fixing. So yeah, there's definitely some work that needs to be done if you're going to be messing around with seasons and this many mods, but it's definitely worth it. Now we're getting to grass. And it's amazing that something so simple could be such a headache, but now is actually a good time to take a break and talk about system hardware, because believe it or not, this section causes the most performance drop out of anything else that I have. So as a preface, you do not need this hardware to run this mod list or any mod list. You can run it with things that are much more reasonable, but I'm running an Intel i12700KF. I have a 4090, and I have 64 gigabytes of RAM, DDR5, and this mod list and my entire Skyrim install is on a 4 terabyte NVMe drive that I use for nothing but Skyrim. And on that note, another reason why I don't have this all in one download link is because this is huge. For perspective here, I'm going to open the mods folder. So this is inside of my Skyrim modding drive. This is Mod Organizer 2. This mods folder is all of these mods here. We're going to see how big this is. While it counts, I just want to say that the current, as far as I know, at the time of recording, the largest game released is like one of the newest Call of Duty games, which is somewhere around 270 gigabytes. And this is nearly 3 times larger than that. So now this is a little inflated because, as you can see, I have a bunch of copies of some mods, some kind of big ones, but this is huge. So you're going to need its own dedicated storage drive for running modded Skyrim. I think my drive here has, it's pretty much, half full, but I also have some videos and recordings on here as well. But you're gonna need a lot of storage space. You don't need a 4090 though. I only got that for recording. And when I'm recording in the worst place where I stress test, which is right outside of Whiterun because of all the grass, I'm still getting like 80 to 90 frames at 1440p. I was previously playing with a 4070 Ti before I started recording, and there I was getting 80 to 90 frames, 1440p, no recording. So you can definitely run this on worse hardware. I'm sure you could run it on some 3000 series graphics cards, and if it's too much, turn down the grass, which we're getting into now. So I'm running a grass cache. What a grass cache does is it allows grass to appear in the distance beyond what is currently loaded. Normally that's not even a thing in the base game, which you might not think that much about. But to generate a grass cache, there's quite a bit that goes into it. You have to download a tool that allows this option to appear in Mod Organizer, which is pre-cache the grass. But here's the catch. The grass cache tool only runs on Skyrim Special Edition, not Skyrim Anniversary Edition, not any version that's been released in the past several years, really. So you have to have a separate version of Skyrim. You have to have Special Edition, saved separately, switch to it with all of your mods still active, and then run it. Which is why you'll see, especially in the admin section here, I have so many things labeled SE. So when I would go to generate a grass cache, I would disable this one and then select SE. Same with all of these other things. So that's also why a lot of these grass mods are not selected, because I don't need them after I generate the grass cache. What the grass cache does is it goes and scans your entire world spaces for areas where there should be grass, both on the ground texture that is painted to include grass, and also to make sure that none of those areas intersect with anything. So it'll scan, and if there's like a chest in the way, it won't put any grass there. It's really intensive to run that. It takes a very long time, and it generates these grass caches, which essentially are data that tells the game, place a piece of grass here, and it'll tell the game which grass there is, and that's how it works. But even these grass caches themselves are huge. So for example, I'm going to open up my seasonal one here. So this is all the non-Tamriel world spaces that have seasonal grass, and this alone is 64 gigabytes, which I think is over 4 times the size of Skyrim Anniversary Edition itself. So just for some perspective on how big some of these files are. But that's grass caches. If you want a detailed tutorial on that, there's a lot of good ones out there, but it will take a lot of trial and error, and this is why I can't just add new world spaces or update world space mods willy-nilly, because anytime I do that, I have to generate a new grass cache, which means switching back to Special Edition and going from there. And how I manage Special Edition actually is I have something kind of unique going on here in the game folder. So this is the game folder as downloaded by Steam. So you'd go Steam Library, Steam Apps, Common, but in here, this looks way different. This is the only thing that Steam sees, Skyrim Special Edition. These are my other versions of Skyrim that I have installed. So anytime I want to switch, I'll just go like this and say this one is for Master of Mods. And now here's my Special Edition version that I'll use for grass cache. Rename that. Now Steam and Mod Organizer 2 will run this one. So that's how I quickly swap between all these different versions of the game that I have downloaded, and you just have to keep track of which one's which. I have a text file in each of these folders that says it in case I lose track of the name. But that's how I run that. Anyway, back to the mods. For the grass mods, landscape fixes for grass mods. This generally switches some landscapes, because the way grass actually works is the texture on the ground will either include grass or not include grass. So you'll have field grass 01, and that means that it'll tell the game, okay, anywhere there's field grass 01, add grass there on top of it, like actual models of grass. Then you'll have field grass 01, no grass. And now the game will be like, okay, on this texture, don't add any grass. So these patches fix various things where that wasn't done correctly. I'm using Folkvanger, which is a grass and landscape overhaul mod, to add new trees, and actually I think it's mostly just grass and shrubbery, things like that. I've made a copy of it, an edited version using Xedit that doesn't add any world space edits, because a lot of my other mods take care of all the world space edits I'd ever need. This is Folkvanger for EMB complex grass, so that way when you walk through grass, it'll actually move like you were walking through it in real life. Folkvanger custom seasons. I made some changes to Folkvanger to make different grass appear during different seasons to make it more look more uniform. All of these mods I would have active while generating a grass cache. This mod allows grass caches to actually be used, and these are all my individual caches. This one is just because I generated this one after my other seasonal and non-seasonal caches. And again, if your game is running too slowly with a grass cache, you can turn down the density of the grass, regenerate it, and then see if it runs better, which it probably will. Trees. For tree mods, we're using Ovenwald for seasons. I absolutely love this one. Creates some adds some really cool models. Also, I have my No Trees in Roads mod, because Ovenwald changes some of the models that are placed next to roads. Like there's this one specific model that's like a low-lying bush or shrub, and it replaces it with an actual tree, which creates some issues, because in the base vanilla game, when you have that shrub next to a road, it doesn't look crazy. But when you replace it with a tree, that tree is like in the road. So this is actually one of my most popular mods on Nexus Mods, and it just moves those trees out of the road. Looks a lot better. Ruma Vanilla Aspens changes some trees. Seasonal aspen trees in real life change dramatically color-wise with the seasons. Adds that to Skyrim. Shrubs of Snow makes shrubs change with the seasons. Yeah, some more patches here as well. Getting into landscapes, these are the textures that are actually out there for landscapes in the world. So things like I said earlier, like Fieldgrass 01, you know, different textures painted over the world itself. Main pack I'm using is Skyland AIO. I really love this one. Big fan of the work there in Skyland. I also have some other miscellaneous ones here. Blended Roads, I really like that as well. I'm using Complex Parallax, which is a rendering technique for these textures to make them look 3D, even though they're not. Rally's Solstheim, all in one. We have, some more parallax additions for that. And I'm not going to read through all of these here, because you can pretty much just deduce what they are for. And also, again, all the links are in the description as well. Some of these I tried out, but I'm not using at the moment. Parallax Snow. Northern Ice, I got to shout out this one specifically. I love the way that it makes the glaciers look in the northern part of the map. It's incredible. This changes light shining and refracting through frost astronauts. They actually look really good. They'd be nice if they weren't so difficult. Parallax farmhouses, yeah, so some more textures going on here. This season scripter, there's actually a way to automatically generate seasons unfrozen config files, and so this is the mod, if you will, the folder that I put all those in here. Some more fixes and some more patches. Now, models and textures world items. These are 3D things that are out in the world. So not really items, but things like, barrels, fences, etc. So all of these different mods here, again, I'm not going to read them all off, because these ones are pretty self-explanatory. If there are any here that I see that don't explain themselves very well, I'll let you know. But yeah, all these are pretty self-explanatory. Models and textures NPCs. This is my section for changing the models and textures for NPCs. Crazy how that works. So this was actually pretty difficult to work with, because so many mods make NPCs look beautiful. And that's cool, but I don't want them to look like that. Like I said, I want to preserve some of the natural integrity of the base game. So I don't want a mod that'll make, elderly people look like they're 20, right? And this was a good mix, I found, that makes characters look better, but better meaning increased detail, not more attractive. So this mix provides a good balance there, I think. So we have face discoloration fixed, a skeleton replacer here. I'm not using CBBE or any of those other crazy mods like that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk through all of these necessarily, but the links are in the description below. We have some hair mods. Nordic faces. This is the main one that I really liked for changing the faces for NPCs. Diverse Skyrim. This one's really cool. It makes it so that other races are included where they otherwise wouldn't be. So now you'll see orcs in the Imperial Legion. Things like that. Protected citizens. This one probably should be in the mechanics section. Same with... Well, no, those are... Anyway, this one will give citizens protected status that have quests. So it means they won't be able to die to random dragon attacks before I do their quest. Frozen electrocuted combustion. I really like this one. If you kill someone with fire, their body will burn, or their body will freeze and then shatter. It's that might be a vanilla feature, but there's other features that are not vanilla in here that are fantastic. Now we're getting into animal NPC variants here. Fluffworks. This adds fluffy fur to animals. Looks really nice. Yeah, all sorts of other patches for several different animals. Models and textures for items. This now changes the models and textures for physical items in the game that you can pick up and interact with, or that are in your inventory. Lanterns of Skyrim 2. This one isn't quite an item one, but it changes a lot of the world and adds lanterns in a lot of places that otherwise didn't have them before. So, yeah, same story here. Pretty much all very self-explanatory. I got to rant for a second about Ancient Dwemer Metal. It's great, but it is the worst mod page on Nexus to manage. Like, let me show you this here. Normally on Nexus, like, let's look at... I still have the tab up from earlier of the last mod we were checking out. So this mod here, right? Like most other mods, it'll have one file here, or maybe 3 or something, you know, if it's got some other patches or optional things. Ancient Dwemer Metal. Oh, sorry, I'm ranting about the wrong mod here. Which one is it? Is it this one? It's definitely Ancient Dwemer Metal, but I think it's just a different version. Hold on one second while I find this. Yeah, here it is. So, then you have Ancient Dwemer Metal. Instead of having 1 or 5 or 3 mods, this one has 142 different files. So, if you want to find all your patches, you gotta scroll through here. It's insane, but credit where credit is due. It's a really great mod that reworks how the metal looks, and I think it's really nice, but man, can it be frustrating to install correctly. Yeah, so here are all the other ones. Cathedral Armory changes a bunch of the textures really nicely, in my opinion. Stalrim Refrozen as well, changes Stalrim specifically. Yeah, nothing crazy going on here. Things will just look a whole lot nicer than they otherwise would. So feel free to pause the video and take a look at any of these specifically. And yeah, there's not many here that I need to call out on their own. Now we'll get into lighting. The lighting and general atmospheric effects are another thing that you can change to tailor your needs regarding hardware. So if your game is running slower, you don't need to run with an ENB at all. ENB stands for Enhanced Natural Beauty. It's another standalone program that runs inside of Skyrim, essentially, that you can download at the link in the description in the Modlist spreadsheet there. So we have different add-ons for that, like ENB Light changes how lights work and refract and shine pretty much out in the world. Torches cast shadows. Embers XD changes fire. We have new lighting and shadows. Lux Via. This mod adds a whole lot of cool new things along the roads, hence the name Via. Really cool stuff there. Lux. This one changes a lot of lighting templates and makes lights more immersive and look a whole lot better. Kind of like ENB Light, but different at the same time. This Lux also has like a million different patches with it, but they're all either in the patch hub or in the actual Lux installer themselves, so it's much easier to manage. Lux Orbis, another Lux associated mod, same with variants. Potions don't glow. I sometimes have a bug where any glass or shiny surface will just be basically white with reflections, so this kind of fixed it. Emissive eyes. Some enemies will now have eyes that glow. Looks pretty cool. New lightning. Whiterun gate glow fix. This is a custom thing that I made, but I don't think it's necessary anymore. And some new meshes for High Hrothgar. Now onto ENB and atmosphere. So these are mostly light focused. These are mostly focused on everything else ENB related. So we have some shader fixes. Wet and cold. This makes it so that NPCs will actually put on gear when they get cold or wet. So they'll like put on not ponchos, but they'll put on hoods and cloaks in the rain and stuff. Some other things here. This will add certain shaders to your character when you get wet or covered in ash or snow. Some ENB things. Waves. This will add really cool waves to the seashore. Water for ENB, a great mod to overhaul how water looks in the game. Seasonal weathers. This will make it so that weather changes with the seasons, so you'll only have like very rarely you'll have snow in the summer, but it'll be more common in the winter, etc. Obsidian weathers is the main weather plugin that I am using. We have other things that are related to the weather here. Different spell impact and spell projectile changes. Those look really cool. More stuff for the seasonal weathers. Moon and stars and aurora, these change the night sky. They don't change the sky, at least aurora doesn't change the skybox itself, but it changes the auroras. It makes them more or less common and adds different variants, and like it is just fantastic. I can't wait till the point in the series where we come outside to a clear night with a crazy aurora for the first time. It looks amazing. Ships on the horizon adds ships in the distance in the Sea of Ghosts. Looks pretty cool. Footprints, you can now leave footprints in the snow and sand with this patch. Also works with the ENB. Spid as well, so all NPCs leave footprints. We have other sort of shader and different effects here, so redone, you know, dust and mist effects. Different Dwemer effects here. Yeah, a lot of these are pretty, again, more self-explanatory. ENB dynamic cube maps, those are great ones. So I touched on this in episode 1 with the... This one redoes reflections, so anytime you see a glass bottle with a really smooth reflection, it'll actually show the room that it's in, and the reflection works in real time, which is pretty great. Yeah, the rest of those are pretty self-explanatory. Now we're on to patches. I'm not going to go over too many of these in detail, because they just do what they say. They enable different mods to work together. Order matters for these, so anytime you're adding a patch or adding mods you think might be incompatible, I would learn how to use Xedit or SSEdit if you prefer. They're the same thing though, but I would learn how to use that to just verify what is actually being overwritten and what is actually being brought to the game. So my patches are down in here as well. Those are all on my Nexus mod page. These are patch faux mods. If you don't know, faux mods are like you'll install this file here, and it'll open up a menu with like 100 different options, and then you choose all your patches from there. Like if I click on here, you'll see on the right there's actually like 5 or 6 different plugins here, all from the same file. It's a good way of doing things. So these are just big patch collections. Debug. This is a section that I used a lot to make sure that everything was working correctly. Crash logger, I think this is essential. It doesn't always tell you where a crash is coming from, but a lot of times it can point you in the right direction. But it can be frustrating when it doesn't really tell you anything or when it is misleading, but definitely worth having over not worth having. More informative console, I consider this to be a requirement. The vanilla console is really difficult to navigate and very annoying. This makes it incredibly better. Help extender adds features to the help command in the console. Sound fix for large sector drives. This can help fix some crashes, but it doesn't always fix them. These two mods are custom ones that I made that really are not requirements. Another output folder here. And that is it. There's one more thing I wanted to... Oh, this one. Visualize vanilla. So I'm not running with this, but this mod replaces all vanilla textures in the game with some like vibrant rainbow pattern. So what I wanted to do with this playthrough was replace literally almost every single texture I could. This made it really easy because I could go through the whole world, and then I found out that like salmon didn't have a new texture because it was the only thing that was like glowing, you know, so kind of useful there if you're making your own set of textures. Last order mods. Now I just put this down here because I wanted these assets to override everything. These don't necessarily mean last plugin order wise. As I explained in the first episode, these are independent. Dear Diary is my skin for Sky UI. Some more category icons here, more Sky UI skins. This Nemesis is an animation engine that can generate new animations based on your mod order. Atlas map markers adds a whole lot of other map markers for things that otherwise don't have them. Open Cities patch for that. Community map icons for new places. This is the font mod that I talked about in the first episode of the series, where all books don't look like they're written by the same person anymore. Then we have a bunch of my patches down here as well. They don't need to be down in the last order mods. I just had them here to make it easier. And there's something I should touch on here. These three things, these bash patches, I don't have uploaded. Specifically, these are the two biggest ones. I used wire bash to make a bash patch for my entire load order. If you don't know what bashed patch is, it attempts to automatically resolve all conflicts in your load order and make patches for things that don't have them. It's not perfect though. So what I've done, why I call it manual bash, is because I made an automatic one, but then I went through and Xedit and manually verified all the changes that it made to make sure they were what I wanted. So I would highly recommend following a tutorial to do this for your own load order. I won't be uploading these because if you look at this one, for example, it's the bigger of the two. If you see there under enabled masters, those are all the different files, and it runs off the screen. Those are all the different files that this mod requires. So theoretically, I have to get permission from all those mod creators to upload this, which is pretty unrealistic. But somehow, if there's enough demand for it and it works out, I could upload those. But I would highly encourage you to learn how to make your own, because it'll be a great tool that you can use going forward. Comprehensive mod fixes, unnecessary mod, a couple of tweaks that I made. And then, yeah, these are my other patches, which you can find on Nexus Mods. Now we have DynDOLOD, which is another feature like the grass cache that requires some generation. This will change LOD, or level of detail, which are things that appear in the distance that are not currently loaded near your character. You need to do this because if you have a mod that adds a building, that building won't appear until you walk up to it because there's no LOD for it. So this program generates LOD for your entire load order, so you'll see things in the distance that should be there that you have added with mods. So we have the general resources plugin here, some files. I just label these with the date so I know which version I have, but always use the most up-to-date version of this. These LODs I'll activate while I'm generating it, but then deactivate otherwise. Same with things down here. And then we have all the outputs. So this is TextGen, XLODGen, and DynDOLOD. These are 3 different programs. You'll see here from my different programs. They should all, yeah, they're all in here. You'll run these every single time, and you're going to have to run these a lot of times you make changes to the world, which is another reason why uploading world space mods isn't as easy as just downloading the new one, because I have to redo the grass cache and then redo this. And the grass cache, you'll only be able to see that in the distance if you enable it and then generate the LOD for it. And this is why I have 64 gigabytes of RAM, because when you generate the LOD, it will run a few programs, a few instances of that concurrently. You can change it to make it less, but it will use all your RAM if you let it. Like I used to have 32 gigabytes and I would run this, and 4 of them running at once, it would use all that no problem. So I upgraded and I limited how many of these processes can run, but even then it still took like 8 hours to generate the entire thing. So it's pretty involved, and that's why I don't do it. That's why I don't make a whole lot of changes to my load order. We have post DynDOLOD meshes, so Icy Mesh Remaster, another great mod alongside Northern Ice. As you can see, this resources thing tries to overwrite it, but I want this to overwrite that, so I put it farther down in the asset order. Lastly, our last section is paper maps. So we have flat world map framework, which allows you to have paper maps. Essentially, this will flatten out the world map and allow you to have a paper overlay, which I love the way that looks. Flat world map framework water for ENB patch fix. This is a manual patch that I made. I don't think it's required, but I just made it so that I could put it way down at the bottom, have it override everything, and it kind of cleared some stuff up for me, but it should work without that. Then we have all of our paper maps for the various world spaces that allow them. Huge shout out to this mod here. This is the map that you'll see in the overworld in Skyrim, and it is fantastic. Like, I absolutely love the way that this one looks. And that brings us to the end. Down here I'll just have an uncategorized category for stuff I add that I need to move around later, and then yeah, just some other empty things here. So that about sums it up for the mods themselves. However, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier, that it's not as simple with this mod load order anyway as upload a link to the whole thing or upload a Nexus collection. There's a lot that goes into this, like running an older version of the game, because that is what most of my things are built on. Could you update this to run on the latest version? I'm sure you could. I haven't, because what I have now works. And I spent a long time making sure that it works, so I try to keep things minimally changed as possible. And also, like I said before, anytime I change something with the world space, I need to redo the grass cache and then redo DynDOLOD as well. A lot of these patches and other mods that I've made, I've used a whole lot of the resources along the way, most of which are going to be listed up here on the top right in our program section on on Mod Organizer 2. So we have Skyrim Script Extender, which is how you actually run the game. Loot Load Order Optimization Tool. This utility will attempt to automatically sort your plugins. It's a great starting point, but it will not be 100% correct. You always, in my opinion, you should always go through and verify some specific things with SSE edit, or X edit for short. This will allow you to look at the individual game records and see what is overriding what and what will ultimately be pushed to your game. Huge advantage there. You can make mods entirely with this program, which is how I got started doing mine. Then you have the official creation kit, which is the Bethesda endorsed way to make mods. This is more useful for, in my opinion, for making mods that move things around in the world. But if you're just making something where you're adding a basic item or you're making a change to a statistic, then I would just use this program instead. You can add additional launch options to this to make it do certain things. We have Nemesis, which we already talked about for animations. We have our LOD, Wire Bash for making bash patches, BAE for extracting archives of assets, because a lot of mods, including the base game, include all their assets in .bsa files, which you need to unpack to actually see. Resaver, this will clean your save file. So if you ever have a corrupt save file, make a backup of it first, but run it through Resaver, and it might help you out. They say you are not supposed to add or get rid of mods during a playthrough, during a specific save file. I don't agree with that necessarily, because at the end of the day, there's almost always a way to get around the problem. But that can be pretty difficult, but Resaver can automate some of that process. Then you have another save cleaner here. I use Resaver a lot more though. And that's pretty much it, but I've included all the utilities that I've used that go beyond some of these in the mod spreadsheet as well. And that's about all that I have. So after only a total of about an hour and a half, we've worked through the whole mod list, and it'll take a whole lot longer than an hour and a half to play through it all, but I'm so excited to keep recording new episodes for you guys. And yeah, I just can't wait to get going and see what most of these mods have to offer. So thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.